Hey everyone, Sean here, and welcome to this Hawke Talks video. I really wanted to sit down and talk about Nintendo. Pretty much that was kind of like the bread and butter for a long time for this channel. This, in fact, used to be a Nintendo only channel until up to some point it wasn't, feasible as just something to even make pocket money off of, ad revenue and stuff like that. I figured, I should just cover everything and expand the horizon. And I covered more than just Nintendo at that point, especially when they started to really hunker down on copyright claiming a lot of the videos on YouTube at the time. Remember that? And that was quite the time during that era of the internet, when Nintendo, for some reason, had some hate boner towards people giving their love and passion and opinions about their games, right? Hey, if you're gonna make ad revenue off of that, then we should take the whole pie, instead of taking some of the pie. Anyway, that was during the time, so some time ago, and at that point, that's when the channel started to go more like variety. And then up to this point, yes, I'm not doing just gaming anymore. I'm doing car detailing stuff. I'm just doing random things here and there, but mostly gaming and content, the car washing for content creation's sake, I guess, and for myself. Anywho, we're back here talking about a Nintendo product or products. Including the console itself, of course. Whether you love Nintendo or hate it, especially at the moment, Nintendo is that gaming company. It's such a legendary name amongst other, like PlayStation and Xbox or Microsoft. They have their degree of their having their footprint in the landscape of gaming. But Nintendo has always been that name, and it has always been that in that place where you're either just PC gaming and then you have a Nintendo console, or you're just like a console player, all that stuff. But when you're gaming, you're most always likely going to have a gamer with Nintendo products in their lineup. That's just kind of how it goes with Nintendo. It's just the way it is, especially how much of a legacy they have left even up to this point. Right, and they're still going. Again, whether you like it or not, it's just that name. It's just that company. Legendary, right? And it is home to some of the most well-renowned video game characters of all time, right? Including Mario, of course, and of course you could argue Pokemon too. But anyway, you get the point. Nintendo is Nintendo. That's just what it is. It's in its own little corner. Nintendo can do its thing, and they will continue, right? But they've been kind of like riding on this whole we can kind of get away with it sort of train for a good while. All this weird nonsense throughout the modern parts of this era, including having a limited time run on the Mario collection games, right? It was like 3 games, including Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, and so on and so forth, right? And that was only for a limited time for whatever only God knows reason. Other than Nintendo, of course. Stuff like that, has always been something people have been trying to knock back on, but Nintendo just chugs along because they still make money. They're a huge company at the end of the day still, and here I am still talking about it, right? I have been a Nintendo kid, and I have always been that one kid with either an N64 and later on the GameCube. I was literally one of the only people in my middle school with a GameCube, but they made fun of me for it, but hey, they're the one who came to my house to play Melee, just saying, right? And stuff like that. Mario Double Dash, right? What's that saying? All those other guys, right? They had PS2s, but they came to my house to play Mario Party or Mario Double Dash, Mario Kart Double Dash, Melee, you can name it. You know, that's all I can say. Anyway, so yes, I have been a Nintendo fan for a long time, but you know, it's been a lot harder to be a fan of Nintendo, especially with this recent presentation. Without further ado, let's talk about the presentation. So the elephant in the room, of course, is the price. And I'm going to be honest here. I think the console itself is fine. The thing can run 4K or whatever. I mean, whether it be a DLSS or some sort of frame generation thing, you know what? It's fine, right? I think the performance is there, is just enough. I can still play Mario. I can still play Donkey Kong. I can still play Mario Kart, right? You know, I think it's just fine. The hardware that comes with it, right? Or the hardware around it, rather. I think is also fine. The kickstand is fine. The stand, you know, you put the Switch in, has a little fan for it. Cool, fine. You know, now, you know, especially on TV mode, you can play at 4K. Great, right? Some games can even operate at 120 frames per second. Great, right? I think that's all great and all, right? And while I did hope that the console itself would have cost $400, right? $399.99 USD. I'm okay with $450. I think it is, right? Slated to be the actual price, at least here in the US. But it's just the games. I think the games is where the issue lies, right? At least for me. Because that's, you know, what you're going to be buying more frequently, of course. The console, hopefully, right, and ideally, will be a one-time purchase, assuming that you don't drop it or you don't break it, you know, that all that stuff. I think the console is just a one-time purchase, whereas games, that's where the money is at, literally. And there lies the issue of some of these games could potentially be $90, especially physical. It's like, what? $90 and then on top of that you get taxed, and then that's going to be what, easily $100 just to play the base game for these games. They're really trying to get away with it, and I think they are going to keep going getting away with it because they're Nintendo. Of course, when you slap on these prices on the products that people are going to likely buy, then it's like, oh, we're incentivized. You know, they're gonna buy it, so why not keep going with it and make all the money, right? You know, that's really all it's about nowadays, especially ever since Iwata-san has left this earth. Unfortunately, too soon. It's been quite a rough ride ever since then. You know. Again, so the console itself, I think it's fair, but yes, the game, I think lies the issue with their pricing. You know, so I've been seeing all the memes for it. I think it's hilarious that, you know, especially with like Mario Kart being $80 by itself, I think, and then when you buy it physically, it's $90. I think that be it, or I think Donkey Kong also is around that price too, if not $70. And don't get me started on the whole $70 thing. It's been just, of course they're gonna do that. And when you're a gamer, you know, it's like, well, what else could I do, right? You know, especially when it's on your favorite game, what could you do, right? You could make the hard decision to, well, put it all away and move on to the next hobby or interest or whatever that you may or may not have been doing, you know. But they're getting away with it, and it sucks, you know. Especially now, Nintendo is really trying to get in on it, and in fact, trying to bring it up to 80, 90, right? Now, imagine with GTA 6, right? Are they really going to put a base price on it, or they're just gonna do a subscription based thing? Who knows? But nonetheless, it is problematic to the point where I think during the Treehouse presentation, the chat was just constantly just spamming, lower the price, lower the price, lower the price, or whatever. It was ridiculous, but it's understandable. Your wallet is cooked if this keeps going on, right? And then and on top of that, we have all the other stuff that's getting more expensive, including eggs and stuff and such like that, food, and just the estates, the whole estate stuff, the property nonsense. It's getting out of control, guys. It's going to be really difficult to be able to kind of prosper on your own, right? You need that extra little help and squeeze out every little savings you got just to get by, but here I am. Anyway, it's just has been very, very difficult to like Nintendo stuff or just gaming in general, which is why I've been feeling so jaded in comparison to before. If you've noticed the lack of these reaction videos, it doesn't do it for me anymore. I think the last time I was genuinely excited for something was the Smash Ultimate character reveal stuff, but that's about it, man. I think when I as soon as I hit about more or less 30 years old, I think that magic kind of died out, that fire or that feeling of just being excited, be hype, right? As just I would say 75% away. I just feel so jaded because of so many of these practices, including microtransactions, micromanagement, just all these dailies and FOMO and all that crap spreading across not just gacha games, but just gaming in general, over the years. It's just tiresome. I'm just sick and tired of it. And of course, you can look into the diamonds in the rough and find the games that don't do that. But I'm just saying, just so many games today are just trying to squeeze out every little penny out of our wallets, man. It's ridiculous. It's insane. It's all I can say. I've been saying that word nonstop because it has been insane. It really is, When it comes to live service, that should stay in gacha games. I get it, it's gacha. They gotta make their money somehow. I can bat an eye on that. But, hence why I've been kind of playing 3 of the Hoyo games, right, at once. And sometimes, that video game here and there with Monster Hunter Wilds, for example, But it's been kind of difficult for me to get that fire going within me because of all this stuff. And a large part of it is, of course, the money. It used to be, it was kind of expensive as it was, believe it or not. And I guess that could depend on your situation, but gaming definitely did feel expensive even back then. I'd say $50, that sounds like a lot when you're a kid, but when you then grow up and see all this other stuff, then it starts to become kind of trivial, and you in fact cherish the $50 price tag. But here we are. The what you thought was impossible has becoming the norm, the new norm, and they're getting away with it for the most part. But meanwhile, let's talk about the actual positives of the recent presentation. I do like the Nintendo Switch 2 for the most part. Will I get it day one? I'll try, but if I don't get it within the first month or two or whatever, then it is what it is. They're really trying to make it accessible as much as possible with the anti-scalper procedures, with the lottery thing, right? You have to log in with your information, with your Nintendo account, stuff like that, You have to have purchased at least 12 months of the Switch membership, I think, and then at least have 50 hours of gameplay under your belt, right? So it really is trying to combat against like the bot scalpers, right? So you gotta, at least that's one way, right? Obviously, that's not the only way to do it. Eventually, we'll see, stuff at Best Buy and your typical store, But at least they're trying to do something with it, and I'll give some credit to that. But I'm not sure how effective will that be. Hopefully, I get the invitation. Hopefully, I get the opportunity to do so. And I think because, yes, it is a cheaper way to get the Switch and Mario Kart because it's $500. Whereas if you were to buy these separately, it's actually going to be a lot more. And I think you'll save what, $30 or something like that overall. So that's of course before taxes and all that crap. But at least it's something. And thankfully, I have a job, so I have the ability to do so or the opportunity to pay it off and all that stuff. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, it's the long term of things is where I'm afraid. Like if you're gonna pay $100 right off the bat for just a base Mario game, it's gonna just be sad. It's all I can say. There's really no other way to put it other than crazy, insane, ridiculous, preposterous even. But that's just kind of what gaming is right now, unfortunately. If you want that Nintendo experience or the first party experience, and it's just kind of depressing to see that, you know. There was a time when the world was so much simpler, you know. You play a video game and there was no worries in the world, but nowadays you have so much more to worry about, especially with stuff outside of gaming. It's tough. It's definitely tough for sure. The games I do look forward to, of course, is the Donkey Kong game. I would like to give that a spin. It looks pretty cool, actually, and I do like his redesign for the most part. I think it's something a little more refreshing. I think it's okay, right, that it happened. When it comes to Mario, that's a bit of a tricky thing, right? Because, yeah, maybe Mario could use a bit of a touch up or something, but then again, it's Mario, right? This is like one of the most iconic video game characters of all time. Do you really need to do that? I don't know. I mean, Sonic has been through it before. I guess technically Mario did go through refinements, but if you really want to argue that, but for just like a straight up sort of redesign even to the levels of Donkey Kong, Bonanza, like that's going to be a big thing. I mean, we're already seeing a different Mario because Charles Marionette is not voicing him anymore, apparently. So there also is that. Things are always changing, and changes are going to be inevitable. But when it comes to this stuff, like the prices and all that stuff, that's where it hurts. I think that's really where that can make or break a person's decision, right? I do understand that people don't just want to not buy the console straight up. I get it. But I for one love to try things. I want to give it a spin and I want to give my review on it. I want to give my thoughts. I want to tell people, hey, this is something for you, or maybe it isn't something for you, right? And we can have hopefully a friendly discussion in a very informal one at that, informative at that, excuse me, in the comment section below. The other thing to be excited about for me is some of the Switch 2 editions of certain games. So I'm definitely going to try to get my hands on the Pokemon Legends ZA Nintendo Switch 2 edition, right? Because obviously it's pretty much for the most part the same textures, the same quality of the buildings and the trees and the foliage and all that stuff, but it's the frame rate, right? I think that's the game changer for me. Obviously, I mean that's literally what's going on with this Switch 2 edition of Pokemon alone. But there is, of course, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. I think that'll be a good opportunity for me to dive back into Tears of the Kingdom because I actually have not finished the game for up to this point. Shame on me, I know. I love the game for what it was, but something about it just didn't really quite have the drive for me to finish it up. Willis being distracted with other interests and such like that. When it comes to anything else, really, the the one thing I kind of want to comment on is the dash and what was it, the Dragon Drive? I think it was the one with the wheelchair simulator basketball thing. Is I don't know. It's such a weird way to go about it to demonstrate the gimmicks, right, for the Joy-Cons, right? Yes, you can use it like a mouse. You can do this to do something, right? Which that of itself is already weird, but to implement that to a wheelchair game, I I don't know. My friends had some comments about it. It was admittedly funny, and that's all I'm going to say. I don't know, maybe it's just my circle of friends, but I think for the most part, I mean, I don't know. It's just a basketball game at the end of the day. You can kind of do stupid stuff with it, with the waving hand thing. I don't know. It's just a tech demo at the end of the day, and that's just how I see it. I kind of wish not Wii Sports, but Switch Sports or whatever you want to call it, would have been the tech demo to show it off, right? Because it's like, a nostalgic thing for me because obviously this channel ran off of Wii Sports and such other Nintendo games, way back in the day. That carried the channel for a long time in terms of viewership. But then came the time, right? So, but anyways, that's kind of where I'm at with that. There's also a paid tutorial game. It's so strange of how they're going about it. Even to the point where a long time ago, Reggie had to really convince Nintendo, including Miyamoto, to include Wii Sports as that free game to be included with the Nintendo Wii. Of course, that was the game that carried this channel, right? As well as Wii Party and all the other ridiculous Wii Party games and all that in between, right? So that's why I kind of have a sort of attachment to it, right? To certain titles like Wii Sports, for example, And it was such a fun time with friends. How could I let that go, right? How could I not feel that way? So anyways, there was also another controversial thing, right, when it comes to the not Bloodborne game called Dusk Blood from software. It was such a left field thing. I saw my friend who really likes Bloodborne stuff like Dark Souls and From Software games was like, no way, it was kind of hilarious to see. Several friends, in fact, were kind of like, no way, that type of stuff. It was hilarious to see, and to see the story around the game is also very interesting because of Sony and this and that, whatever you may, but it essentially is Bloodborne 2-ish kind of, but they have to give it a different name. I heard like it was like supposed to be like multiplayer or something, so that kind of like killed a lot of the hype. I could be wrong, but I don't know. That's just kind of what I saw on social media. So there is that. What other game I'm possibly missing here? Oh yeah, of course. How can we forget the Mario Kart game? Another game that kind of carried the channel too in some ways, but nonetheless, it's Mario Kart. Obviously, the game itself looks the same with Mario Kart 8. Don't break don't break what's not broken. Obviously, it looks good, right? other than some tweaks and stuff like that, obviously. But the open world thing, I'm not behind it entirely. I have to see how it works. It reminds me of Forza Horizon or Forza Horizon and like Burnout Paradise and such other games. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting to see that now in a Mario Kart game. So let's see how that is implemented and what's their take on the open world aspect or gameplay implemented into a kart racing game. We'll see about that. But when it comes to the character roster, I heard it's gonna be insane with like 84 or something like that. That's wow. And they're like including everybody, and I mean everybody from the Mario universe, including a freaking Goomba, right? The cow, even from Moo Moo Metals. Like, what is going on with this roster, man? It's bonkers. But hey, I'm here for it. Mario Kart World, I think, is a good one potentially, especially with some of the other modes too, like including like Knockout Tour and which is like a sprint type of race, right? You just keep going to other places until the very end of the finish line. It's pretty cool, I'd say. So the game itself is fine, but the price, again, that's a kill factor, man. That's a boner kill, especially with Donkey Kong Bonanza, another game that's like potentially really fun, right? And I'm not even a big Donkey Kong fan. I'm just like, all right, cool, it's part of the Nintendo lineup, right? But Bonanza looks really cool, right? I'm here for it. I'll give it a spin, along with, of course, Metroid Prime 4, another upcoming game that looks great, I think, for the most part, other than some environmental stuff here and there, but whatever. I'm here for Samus with the psychic powers and all that stuff, and it looks neat. So I'll try it. I'll definitely give that a spin as well. I think that's one of the launch titles, right? The launch title lineup is looking crazy, right? Because you already have Mario Kart going, Metroid Prime, and stuff like that. Not to mention all the other like Switch 2 editions of all the other games that have been mentioned. And then you have 1 month later, Donkey Kong, right? It's going to be a pretty solid honeymoon phase for Switch 2. I think there is going to be a good time with it, right? If you can get your hands on it. The whole like talking more about the hardware, the whole like magnet thing. All right, cool, whatever. It's still a portable console. I think that's great. That's what I was asking for. Like, I think the whole hybrid console thing was such a good idea. I think they definitely should just keep improving upon it, right? Instead of like coming up with a brand new gimmick and force it onto everybody, right? I think we're over with the motion gaming thing and like a new way to game kind of gimmick from Nintendo. Like, respect to that. I get it, but we just want to sit down and play a fucking video game with the controller. I think that's all we asked for, right? And that's pretty much what this is, plus some motion control gimmicks, which is not going to be a huge central part of most other games, with some exceptions of Metroid Prime. Oh, you can aim like a mouse or something. All right, great, right? For those people. But for the most part, I think it's just not the forefront like the Wii was, right? And then you have, of course, the third-party titles. That's a whole nother beast. And then the other one worrisome thing is the Nintendo Online. How are they going to improve upon it at all? I don't think they really talked about it, right? That's my other worry or concern, is the online quality. Especially when you have a game like Street Fighter 6 coming to the Switch. How is the online there? So that's going to be a headache potentially if the online is still more or less the same. So that somehow reminded me of Kirby Air Riders, right? The sequel to Kirby's Air Ride, which from what I can understand is like a high-speed racing game. It had some different mechanics to it, but for what it was really fun. I'm pretty sure Sakura was like, grinning ear to ear, right? Whenever he had the opportunity to start developing this game, because come on, man, let him make a different game. Smash Brothers is, yes, beloved, but it's a whole lot of work, you know. But it's kind of a hit, like his baby, kind of like with Kojima and Metal Gear Solid. But anyways, Sakurai working on Kirby, great. I'm all for it, you know, in some ways. But kind of wish it was some sort of like actual Kirby game or Kid Icarus or something. Just saying. My wish at this point is to see an actual full-fledged Star Fox game. That's something I will fuck with at this point. You know, plus for those all those other fans have been crying for a long time. F-Zero, come on, throw that in there. I want to see them happy, you know, and maybe I will give it a spin too, right? And but come on, man, make those people happy. I want to see people happy, you know. As much as I've been so fucking jaded for a long time, make those other people happy, right? If they're happy, I'm happy enough. I think that's really all we can ask for at this point. Is that so much to ask? I don't know. So I know there's like other information left out from the presentation, but that's my big 2 cents on when it comes to my opinion on the Nintendo Switch 2 and everything related to that. Yeah, so that's pretty much it on me, or from me. And if you have any comments about the Switch 2, leave it down below. Is it too expensive for you guys? Are you guys actually like, you know, no problem, I'm rich, whatever, right? I'm all for different perspectives, right? But yeah, I personally think they should lower the prices down. And mind you, this is before the tariffs. So take that into consideration there. So anyways, leave it down below for the comments. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button for future Nintendo content to return. I don't know. Anyways, really do appreciate it because it's all helpful. So this has been my Hawke Talks video on the Nintendo Switch 2. It's coming out in June. June will be a big month, and it's gonna be $500 potentially down the sinker. But that's gaming today. That's all I can say. Anyways, thank you very much, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Sean out.